Sal, over the last couple of weeks, this book is brand new. I have been giving the presentation to certain groups, and I've also talked to a number of social media publications, and I really feel gratified because the most favorable responses I'm getting are from people who have experience in social media. And they are the ones who are looking through the book, reading the book, and saying, this isn't a social media book. It's so much more interesting. And I think what they mean is it's not a how-to manual. These are stories. These are stories of real businesses revitalizing themselves, reinventing themselves, staying relevant in the new digital age. That's why I chose to write the book, because I'm a journalist first. I'm not a social media guy per se. It's a social media tool, but it's stories. It's the stories that I'm interested in. And I'm going to share a lot of the stories with you today. But Sal, above all, let's have fun today. Foursquare is a game, right? It's a play yard game. It's fun. It's playful. So have the right attitude when we're getting into this. And please send in your questions. I don't want this to become, a straight presentation where I'm just pushing slides for the next 30 minutes. I want to have a conversation. I'll introduce topics and ideas and tell stories. But please, by all means, we'd like to hear from you. Sal, I know you're in the Boston area, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so I believe Boston, I haven't used Foursquare in Boston, but from what I understand, it's a fairly active community. Do you use Foursquare?
I do. Foursquare is definitely active in Boston between all of, the businesses we have and the sort of historical sites. It's definitely vibrant.
Oh, the historical sites. That's right. I had not thought about that. I know the History Channel, and I'll talk about them a little later. They have a great Foursquare promotion or a package where they actually leave these tips and information in a lot of historical sites around the country. So I bet in Boston they have plenty of those. And who's checking in, Sal? It's not just me and Sal. I mean, there are literally well over 10 million people on the platform already, and they're all checking in. They're checking in at the equivalent of 34 times per second. So in every city, in every country, everywhere in the world, there are people who are checking in. Now, in a city like Boston, like New York, I live near San Francisco, it's more active because there are more businesses and more people in a confined area. But wherever I've gone, especially this summer, I've literally traveled to half a dozen cities around the world. Japan, Malta, Dusseldorf, Vienna. Everywhere I go, I open my Foursquare account and I see that people are checking in. They're checking into every business all around the world. So the point of all of this is that Foursquare is a new tool that will allow you as a business to attract, reward, and engage your customers in ways that were never possible. That's the pitch. If you need to sell this up, if you need to talk to your superiors and get them interested in this, just tell them it's a new social media app that allows businesses to attract, reward, and engage customers in ways that were never possible. And it's being used all over the world. And chances are people are already checking into your business. Who is checking in? The president is checking in. The White House has its own Foursquare page. And Sal, you know that it's Barack Obama himself who's actually sending out all his tweets and all his Foursquare posts, don't you?
Yeah, of course. That's
of course.
Use of his time.
Of course, he's got.
So why would the president participate in Foursquare? Like, what is he looking to gain by doing that?
More social engagement. This is a photograph, Sal, of the website. So if you go to foursquare.com/White House, this is what you'll see. This is not what you'll see on the actual phone. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this just kind of gives you a picture of what they're doing. What he does, well, his people, his marketing folks, what they're doing is leaving interesting and relevant information in the form of tips. They're called tips, but think of it as information. They're offering these tips in all of the venues and in all of the places where Obama is on the campaign trail and where he's, they're literally checking in. They have a lot more followers than it says here because this was a screenshot I took several weeks ago. I think 30,000. It's it's close to 50,000 now. So they continue to get followers on this page. But here's the point. When you're on your smartphone, it doesn't look like this. When you're using Foursquare on your smartphone, if you are actually following the White House, and you can follow a brand just as you can follow friends. That's the whole point of Foursquare. Check into a place and share your information, share your location with friends and followers. So if you're a friend of the White House, all of these tips, they actually get pushed to you automatically. They get pushed to you on your smartphone when you check in to one of these venues or when you are near a venue in which Obama has checked in. That's called engagement. So a lot of people think of Foursquare as, oh yeah, it's that tool that bars use to give you a free drink if you check in. Well, in its simplest form, yeah, that's part of it, but there's so much more. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Hey, Carmine, I want to ask, you're mentioning engagement, and to backtrack a little bit, you mentioned, trying to tell this to, say, sell this to an executive that really may not really know a lot about it. We're getting some good feedback on that. Are you finding that, clients or people you talk to are having a hard time selling this to the two executives?
Not that hard. Not that hard. Especially if they know the important points. It's not that hard because, first of all, Sal, let's be honest, it's free. Okay, when something is free, it's an easier sell. I was talking to the marketing director at Chili's, and she told me that she got her CFO to buy off on it when she walked in, started talking to him for a few minutes. Within a couple of minutes, he stopped her. How much is this going to cost me? She said, well, right now it's free. Go for it. That's it. Walk into any Chili's anywhere in the country, and you will get free chips and salsa just for checking in on Foursquare. And she said it was the shortest pitch she's ever had to make.
Nice.
So we will give you more ammunition as you go along. But I'm really glad you brought that up, Sal, because that helps me understand our audience today and what they need from us. So the number one thing, free. Let's keep using that word. That's a good word. It's a good word to keep selling up. NASA is on Foursquare as well. Doug Wheelock is actually the first astronaut to check in from space. And he actually did. He wasn't on the moon like the picture I have here, but he was in the space station, and he actually checked in on Foursquare from space. NASA has about 130,000 followers right now. And what they do, again, very similar to the White House or very similar to other brands, is they actually use Foursquare to engage people into what NASA does by leaving tips and information at museums, science centers, NASA-tagged places anywhere in the country. So again, it's just one more tool that allows an organization like NASA to extend its conversation to people in a whole new way, in ways that were never possible before, certainly before the smartphone reinvented everything in 2007, at least the iPhone did, and since Foursquare was introduced and pioneered this whole area of location-based services, and it pioneered it starting 2 years ago. In last year, 2010, it had 381 million check-ins, but it's growing explosively. This slide is out of date. It's recently passed 1 billion check-ins. And look at this map very carefully, Sal. This is a very cool map that Foursquare created. It's all lit up, and it shows you where people are checking in during the time of during a 24-hour cycle. It's actually animated. This is just a screenshot. So it shows you that, can you find a country, a city, where Foursquare is not being used? That to me is powerful. And that's why, here's the other selling point, okay? Let me flag these as selling points if you have to upsell this to people in your organization. It's being used all over the world already. Why aren't we there? That's another selling point. So free, and our customers are already using it. Why aren't we there?
Yeah, Carmine, that's interesting because that's interesting because that's really how you sell any social channel, right? Is one really clear way to sell your executives, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. Show conversations that are already happening about your brand and about your industry. And Foursquare is really no different. It's already being used. Your audience is already there.
Oh, I'll tell you the big aha moment that I get whenever I pitch this or talk to business owners. And here's the third way that you could pitch it. Bring up Foursquare on your smartphone. And again, that's all you have to do is go to foursquare.com, sign up, and download the free app. That's it. That's the whole manual, okay? When you download the free app, you can check into places. Here's the aha moment. Check into your company. Whether it's a physical, whether you have a particular location or even your office building, just for fun. Check in and show your boss that people are already checking in. More often than not, every business already has people checking in. So in other words, your customers are already on this, they are checking in, and we are not rewarding them for that loyalty. Foursquare allows us to do so for free. Brands. Sal, look at the brands. These are just a handful of the major brands that are on Foursquare right now that have active Foursquare partnerships. I've spoken to marketing directors at pretty much all of these brands, and I have something very interesting to talk about with each of them. I'm not going to go through each of these brands, but I do want to give you a sense that a lot of major companies are here, and they're being added every single day. But the power is really unleashed for medium and small businesses because you can compete with the larger brands on the same scale. You can do exactly what they're doing, and in fact, you can do that. In my opinion, a smaller or medium business can actually be more creative. Not that these brands are not creative, they are doing some interesting and creative things. But a smaller brand can be more creative because they can move faster. And in a mobile environment, mobile marketing, the fast-moving advantage is very powerful, and we could talk a little about that. Foursquare is, here's the acronym. This is the term I've heard, SOLO-MO. Okay. When I first saw this, I thought, that's ridiculous. I don't like that word at all. It looks like slow motion to me. But then I thought about it, and I realized, it actually isn't a bad way of describing it. It's easy to remember, folks. Foursquare is social, local, and mobile. Social. Obviously, it's a social media app. It falls under social media. And in fact, what you'll find, and what I'll talk about today, is that some of the case studies of companies that are doing really, really well are ones who are connecting Foursquare to their existing social media efforts, especially Facebook and Twitter. It's local, that's why it's called a location-based service. Again, kind of a boring term, location-based service, but that's exactly what it is because it's using your phone's GPS to connect with people who are in the neighborhood. Now that's important. I just read a New York Times article about a small coffee shop in, where was it, Starkville, Mississippi. Okay, not exactly a booming place. I know there's a university nearby, so maybe that helps. But Starkville, Mississippi. The point is, this particular owner has seen particular drink sales go up 30% month over month because he's promoting those drinks on Foursquare. He says, if you promote it on my Facebook page, he said, or my website, it doesn't do very much. The local piece is what's powerful because you're actually reaching people locally when they're right outside the door. So local is a very important concept for us. And it's mobile. This is important too. Because it's mobile, you're actually reaching people where they are increasingly living their lives. When American Express launched a partnership with Foursquare, its chairman, Ed Gilligan, said, we go to where our customers are, and they are increasingly on places like Foursquare. And as mobile, you got to think of it as an engagement tool. What are people using their mobile devices for? Their smartphones. For texting, for photographs, for enjoying music, for videos. That to me is engagement. The big point is, I don't believe you should be using tools like Foursquare to just push the same old tired coupon that you would put in the newspaper. That's not engagement. Check in and get $1 off your ice cream. Okay? That doesn't inspire anyone. It's not fun. It's not playful. It's not that creative. So think about all of these things and how it's going to affect your brand. The fact that it is social media, but it's local, and you're connecting to people on their mobile phones. And Sal, I'm sure you'll agree with me that in order to check in with people on Foursquare, I think it is very important to understand that the mobile user, you would know this better than I because you actually make tools for mobile devices. The mobile user is significantly different than the social media user on a website, for example.